Hello, this is Giovanni from the Fitness Ethic. We're here today, launching the pilot of our podcast, and hopefully it goes well. I'm sure you guys will let us know how it reaches your doorstep, and share a little information if we can. Take this opportunity to be productive and reach out to our community. This is Mercedes.
Hi, I'm the lady of the Fitness Ethic, or lady of the group. And today we're just going to kind of talk to you guys about who we are as a brand and who our founder is, which is sitting right next to me, Giovanni. I know a lot of you guys already know him. You already know us, especially if you're a part of our community. So bear with us. In the next few episodes, we'll get into some great topics. But for today, I want those who haven't met Giovanni to know his amazing story and basically how this brand came to be in the first place. This is like 5 years in the making here.
6 years now.
6 years in the making.
Yeah.
And while this is crazy times, this is actually allowing us some downtime to get you guys the content we've been wanting to deliver now for years.
Ooh.
So kind of a blessing in disguise, and we are going to take our moment here and use that. So we hope this finds you well. So let's get into it.
Let's see you using my quotes.
I know.
Who you with?
He was doing this while we were warming up. Not sure what it is.
Bernie Mac, baby. My fellow Libra.
Okay, so we're already getting into who you are. So who is Giovanni Romero?
Well, I mean, I think that can embody a significant amount of things. But to sum it up, I guess, long story short, is I'm the sum total of my experiences. I'm a kid that grew up in a rough area and neighborhood. I wasn't the worst kid, but I definitely had a little bit of an attitude. And I dabbled in enough trouble to know that the stove was hot and I didn't want to be a part of it. And I wanted to do things to reach out and extend. There were certain things that I was missing in my life, and I wanted to do things that put me in a path and in position to provide those things that I was missing, like a strong male figure, a strong male role model to society. Not just my kids, not just family, but to society. And provide the values of the lessons I've experienced in life. So, again, I'm the sum total of the experiences that I've had.
Do you mind telling us, so I'm, just so those who don't know, I'm also Giovanni's significant other. So when I'm kind of leading these questions here, I'm just trying to get him to share some of the experiences that I know that he's gone through, that I know have shaped the man that sits here with you guys today. So what are some of those experiences, if you could probably start off from, growing up in a household of women? So we're actually polar opposites. I have 5 brothers, and G has 4 sisters, and actually 6 if you count in like a integrated household situation. Yeah. And so we both come from very modern families, but kind of polar opposites, where we're both on the younger end of things, and he's the only male and I'm the only female. So how did that kind of family dynamic shape you into who you are today?
Well, I think it definitely taught me a more balanced approach to being and expressing myself as a man. I think that it wasn't one of those households where it was all macho-esque. And however, there was a sense of toughness within the realm.
All the women in his family are very tough.
Latin ladies are hot and spicy. So. and that's a good thing, because it definitely taught me to be strong and stand on my own 2 feet. But it also taught me a sense of communication with my emotions. It taught me an emotional awareness that I don't think I would have learned if I was raised around a household full of men. It definitely came with a lot of trials and tribulations. I felt like it was a household of 2 different languages, and expressing ourselves, there was definitely some obstacles in growing up in there. But it has its benefits.
One of the things that I really liked about there, and I know Giovanni is all about, is balance.
Yes.
And I think at the Fitness Ethic, and one of my brothers had I'm going to say the privilege, because I think it is a privilege to train with you one-on-one, because it's a very unique experience. of training with Giovanni, and he's also trained at some more of the premier studios in Philadelphia. And I think one of the biggest compliments that he gave you was that you are masculine without being intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes to a training style, that really sums up kind of the fitness ethic. We get at it, but we're not intimidating. We don't have that machismo.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about that?
I think we're like a chain, right? We're stronger linked together than we are separated and broken apart. So I think when each individual brings their own strengths and powers, it resonates when we stand together as a unit as opposed to when we're separated. So there's no reason for me to intimidate or separate or segregate our people. I think that we all have talents that when put into the pot can make a real good dish. And I believe in it. I believe in that the people that I've trained have made me that much more stronger as an individual, just as much as I've trained them and taught them to be stronger physically. So
I like that. So moving forward, I know that even though you lived in this like very female dominant space, you kind of had to find yourself as that man of the household, which can even be more difficult. Mm-hmm. And that was actually done through a very traumatic experience, unfortunately, for you and your family.
This is true.
Do you mind maybe sharing that? Because I know that kind of opens up the floodgates in a positive way to how we ended up here today.
Man, I didn't expect to get emotional, but back in 2009, my my 7-year-old niece was tragically murdered, and it was one of those events that, you know, they always say be careful what you say because you never know what your last word's going to be. And unfortunately, I was very cruel to my family the day before because the young lady that I was dating at the time, her and I had some troubles, you know, some youthful troubles, and we were separating, and it was an ugly breakup. And being in a household full of women, ladies tend to take each other's side, and there wasn't a right or wrong, I don't think, at that time, but it was a painted right or wrong. And, you know, I cussed my family, and I told them that I was gone. And the next day, as I said, it was a very tragic experience, and we're talking, you know, one of those made-for-TV type elements where helicopters in the sky, and, you know, glass and car. It was traumatic, and I arrived on the scene to where my niece was murdered, which was in front of my mom's household, and I realized that it was one of those moments where I had to strap my boots on and be something that I've never been, and that was a man. And even though I was 20 at the time, it definitely was a moment that, like I said, I had to strap the boots up and embody a strength that wasn't present in our household. And I also had to get over my own personal demons and issues that I had that I was resonating or delivering to my family that had nothing necessarily to do with them. It had to do with a response a response and a feeling, a personal demon that I, so it definitely, it told me that I had to be something that they've never experienced.
And I think just for those to understand, Giovanni is from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. We're both from the Philadelphia area.
From Philly.
Yeah, he's from Philly. I'm from the suburbs. And where he grew up was a very difficult area, has a lot of its own, you know, social and economic, what would you call it? I guess hardships that naturally come with living in a space like that.
Yes.
And this was kind of just one more thing to throw on there. But that is also when you kind of found the male role models in your life. You found fitness
mm-hmm.
As a positive source mm-hmm. of healing. Actually, like mm-hmm. it was cathartic for you.
Well, I think that at that time, there was a beautiful man that was in my life. That's also my niece's father, who's always been kind of a male role model to me. But at this time, we finally got to kind of like hone in on our relationship. And one of the things that was most prevalent was we were literally clocking in and out of the gym every day, 2 times a day. And that actually led to the one of the reasons for the breakup at that time. But it was we were literally we're talking about what from 155 soaking wet high school kid graduate to 180 pure muscle and brolic. And then he introduced me to my friend Claude and brother, and I mean, the gateway's just open, the opportunities, and that's when I started training for basketball, to play collegiate basketball, and again clocking in and out.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to kind of hone in on that factor of playing basketball, because you coming from where you came from and having, I think today you have a great support system, but at the time your family was going through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the support system that was there, 10, 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Isn't as strong as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a negative thing,
Right.
presently speaking.
Right.
That you did a lot to make it to where some people would say, like, oh, you only went to junior college,
Mm-hmm.
or you only got to play ball at but a certain level.
Yeah.
But I think for the fact that you even made it there, can you just kind of elaborate? Because I was a Division I athlete, and
Right.
I very much feel like the grind and hustle, while we ended up at two different points, which I think completely had to do with environment and circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do with the hard work that
Right.
was put in. I actually think, if anything, you might have worked harder than a lot of Division I athletes, and even people I know that went on to play professional sports.
Well, yeah. It was definitely, as I said, I was already used to two-a-days in the gym,
Mhm.
and that was brought upon us when I even thought about maybe trying to play football, which was one of those childhood sports that I was able to get my aggression out. I was naturally talented at it, but it wasn't really truly my love. Basketball was my love. Basketball was, again, one of those things that was a great peacemaker for me. It put me in a position where I could develop friends and relationships that lasted beyond the game, and I had times that are memorable beyond beyond the time that we have here. But we're talking about, we would go to the gym, we would hit the weight room, hit the pool, and not hit the pool to like kind of casually lay in it. We would hit the pool to run drills.
Not for recovery.
Yeah. Then we would hit the basketball court. There were times where we would hit the basketball court, hit the weight room, hit the pool, hit the basketball court for games. And we were going into the gym. If we could get into the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, we were going into the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was bouncing around from house to house at this time, because at the time that everything happened with my niece, and I was homeless. I really didn't have a place to truly live. I didn't have a job, but I did have a car. And so when I was training, I lived in a couple of different situations. I was shoveling out my sister's entire neighborhood driveway, not like a personal driveway, like a neighborhood driveway.
People in Philly, northeast townhomes, you gotta shovel out the whole back.
So just to get the car out so I could drive all the way up to the suburbs to meet Claude at his college and put some shots up on the gun, and I was jumping into whatever league I could get into.
Mm-hmm. So
whatever experience, whatever time I could study the game, I wasn't watching the game to be a fan. I was watching the game to study and learn. So we're talking about true dedicated days, and this was all while working a full-time job.
So this kind of leads you to being, 22, 23?
I went to college at 24.
At 24? Oh my gosh.
So from 20 to 24
Yeah.
was a time span. And somewhere in that point, I actually ended up with a trainer, because Claude went off to college and had to do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up working out with a trainer too. But yeah, this was from 20 to 24.
Okay. And so I ended up meeting you then when you were...
25, 26.
Okay, so 25, 26, you started actually working for Claude.
Mm-hmm.
Training at the time, apartment complex that I was living in.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because I thought it was funny how you told me the story about how Claude was kind of like, hey, come do this with me, and just how that came about.
So Claude, who has always been a visionary and just one of those dudes that he's going to kick doors down for opportunity to show up. He's not going to wait for it. And man, that was one of the reasons why I was mostly like attracted to him as a brother. Like he was one of those dudes that he was willing to do the things that not many people are willing to do, and I admired that in him. So he started his own brand. He started training people, and actually, I think your brother was the one that he was training at the time that hooked him up with a relationship with an apartment complex, and we got a handshake agreement. And he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, bro, you still thinking about training?" And I was like, "Oh man, not really, but." So he told
Some
me.
of those people you don't say no to.
Yeah. So he asked me. He said, "Man, look, I got this situation where we can train our clientele, but we need to offer them group classes twice a week. And I wanted you to run the group classes because I know you like to help people, and this would be a great opportunity to do so." I was like, "Dad, you know what? You're right. This would be a great opportunity for me to go out there and reach." And ever since I was a kid, I mean, I remember coaching the little kids that were younger than us growing up in the neighborhood, thinking I was a coach, screaming at them and telling them to get their knees up and push hard. And so I was like, "Hey, man, maybe this is something I can do." So he suggested that I get Sean T. Shout out to you, brother. Insanity. So I bought it on bootleg, and I studied it. I studied everything: his cues, his style, his workouts, and I showed up. And my first workout, I murdered everybody. Nobody wanted to come back. So
it was like insanity on
steroids.
1,000.
Yeah, it was rough.
Insane.
You talk about a learning experience.
So you were just telling us how you murdered people so bad in the gym.
They did not want to come back.
They did not want to come back. This is shocking to me. One, taking how your training style has developed to this day.
You all have to learn, right? Experience is the greatest teacher of them all. So
that's true. And also because despite that, some of those clients are your clients still.
Not in the first class.
Not in the very first class.
But during that time period, I have developed relationships that are still clients.
Okay. So let's jump from, obviously you almost took this like apprenticeship role from a mentor who I actually trained with. Awesome guy. And you then did the fitness ethic just, you woke up one day and you were like, I know the answer to this question, but you woke up one day and you were like, oh, I'm going to start a business. Or was this a slow progression, a dream that just came to fruition? Like, what was it that was that, boom, I'm going to do this?
I think that a lot of things in life for me, and I think this is part of being a Libra, it's one of those things where it's like, I get pushed into a situation, I'm forced to respond. Hence, podcast. But no, I think, so what ended up happening is we went through, like anything, as a business, we went through an experience. Claude, myself, and Mike, who ended up joining the brand as well. We went through an experience that they put us in a corner. The relationship that we had, the contractual relationship we had, and we had to kind of fight our way back. And what ended up happening was, I think that Claude really, really gave us the opportunity to grow as individuals. From the books that he bought me for my birthday, to the endless conversations we had, to the bike ride workouts we went on. And a lot of things that he did was ask me to dig deeper within myself, to kind of like really find out who I am. So through that experience, that's what I was doing. It was just soul searching and digging, and kind of like filling out my beliefs, and if they were truly my beliefs or a manipulated form of belief. And when we were back up to the wall to the point where we had to respond, I kind of had a message, and that message was the fitness ethic, and it was what I relied on and depended on during that time period to kind of get me back. And so it was a situation where the Avengers, instead of becoming the Avengers at the end, they had to become they were the Avengers originally, and they had to become their own superheroes.
Then they each got their feature film?
Yeah. And by all means, they're all doing great. But it was definitely one of those situations where we were pushed into a corner, had to respond, and the fitness ethic was born.
With that being said, there's just a couple things that you talked about I just want to hit on a little bit. So, first one is, so you're saying you failed a couple times.
Oh, I failed. I failed a lot of times.
And I'm just saying that because in our community, Philadelphia or Philly, it's small. It's a small city. The fitness community is tight knit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the businesses that Giovanni does run, along with the fitness ethic, is extending a hand to independent contractors. Basically, people who don't want to work for a big box gym. He has a facility. He rents spaces to them. And I think a lot of those younger, and not in age, younger in the game, individuals think, this happened overnight. I know you don't call yourself successful, so I don't want to use that terminology. But can you just kind of elaborate? I think a lot of young people out there and a lot of people that see people in every industry think that where they're at that instant happened instantly, overnight, and without any pains. And I think that that's such it's a big hoax.
Well, I think that's when we delve into what the fitness ethic is to an extent, right?
Okay.
I think that one of the elements about fitness is that it teaches you principles and disciplines that when you take them and you apply them to your everyday life and routine, whether it's your business endeavors or work experiences, you can become successful by altering the vision and developing, obviously fitting it. And you don't get stronger without resistance, right?
So true.
Yeah, you don't get stronger without resistance.
And in fitness and the real world.
Yeah, and in order for you to know if you can lift a weight, you have to try. And sometimes you're not able to lift that weight just yet, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to. So it's a process. It's a process, and that just because I couldn't lift a weight today doesn't mean I'm gonna lift it tomorrow. It's a journey to it, right? There's a science to it. There's a practice to it. There's an application to knowledge learned, and you have to get from point A to point B. And I think that a lot of people get confused that point A to point B happens within the 15 seconds of gratification that they apply their attention to, and that's not the case. That's never been the case, and that probably will never be the case. Which is one of the beautiful things about life, though, because what then in turn happens is this beautiful journey that becomes your story, and it becomes your life. And I think that people becomes almost either so goal oriented or so obsessed with an end that they forget that there's a road to that, right? So, I think that that's the best advice that I can give to people. Is that element right there. Now, for you to get to that road, are you practicing the principles and disciplines that you need to practice? Are you staying true to those disciplines and principles? Are you growing and progressing? Are you applying a lesson learned from the experiences beforehand so that you can move progressively, forward? And that's the other thing, perfection versus progression.
Yeah, we've been talking about that a lot lately.
Yeah.
So with that being said, this time, like I said in the very beginning of this video, is a little different. We're in quarantine. It's different all over the world.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things in our household and in our business we've been really trying to stick to is we're not going to let life and our journey stop. It's changed.
Right.
It's progressed maybe in a way that isn't progressive in what we truly want.
Right.
But it's not going to stop, which is why we're doing things like the podcast. Typically in our facilities, we offer personal training, semi-personal training, and group training experiences. And we do like to call them experiences because we do believe it is this life-changing experience. It's just not the hour or 45 minutes you spend in the day in the gym or in our facility. It's the life-altering experience that you have. But now we're kind of shifting. We're pivoting, right? We're doing another business pivot. What are some of those things that you see for the fitness ethic now in the future? Why we're even doing things like a podcast?
Well, I think that this gives us an opportunity to reach out to people far and beyond Philly.
Yeah.
And it allows us to use social media for the tool that it's always been capable of, right? I don't want to become a slave to technology, but I do want to use technology as a tool. And if I can whisper something positive or something progressive to an ear that's listening 3,000 miles away or halfway across the globe, why not?
Yeah.
Right? If I can spread an encouraging message or a great motivational workout to get somebody to start a powerful week, why not? If I can knock on your door at 6 o'clock in the morning with me still being in Philly and you waking up wherever you are in this world at this moment, and it gets you to power through your week, let's do it. I think it's one of those things. I think also growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in too, it was one of those things where you took what you had and you made the best out of it. And right now, this is what we have. And I think that we forget that social media was always a tool, and we became the targets of the tool, and less of the actual users of the tool. And so let's use it. Let's use it to knock on your door and say hello. And empower you through your days and weeks.
So true. Just backing it up a little bit to the fitness ethic and what that means, and also how did you come up with that name? Because I know that this was not an overnight thing. This was actually like a 3-year process, which we do not suggest that you do. But that's what it turned out to be for us, and there is just so much punch behind what that means. You hit on it a little bit, but can you just elaborate?
Well, like I said, there's a principle and discipline that comes along with the fitness experience. So fitness has always long meant more to me than just a workout or an aesthetically appealing experience. And so what I wanted to do was, I didn't want to just be a trainer that trained the person and that was it. I wanted to create an environment, a community, because I wholeheartedly believe that, I believe strength in numbers, right? That whole saying, divided we fall, united we stand. So I wanted to create that. I didn't want it to be body by or, and also as an entrepreneur building a business, like that should never be your goal, just to be the end all be all. And I was never carved out that way. It's just something that I never believed in. I didn't believe that I was end all be all. And to be honest with you, because of beautiful people like Claude and Cordell and people of that nature, and even the family background and experiences, all those people that I encountered throughout that time process is what made me who I am. Even the experience that we share together now as partners in life. So what I always basically believed in was community, and so I wanted to create something that everybody could embody. So I came up with a mindset, the fitness ethic. It's a principle. It's a moral code, right? And it's a sense of, that was one of the things I was always known for, was my work ethic. So it became something that I wanted to take and apply to all realms of life, right? And I wanted people to realize that it was applicable to all realms of life. But then being Latin, being Puerto Rican, F-E means faith, right? Faith. And I wanted people to understand that there's a process where you have to have faith, and that every step you take is going to get you closer to the goal, regardless of you seeing it or not. And however, Fe also means iron, right? And the fun play on that is that we lift iron, so on and so forth, right? But the great play is that, like iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, right? So that was important to me, like keeping those principles in there. And then faith, right? The faith of a mustard seed can move mountains, essentially, right? And those different elements, those are biblical writings, but they're statements that are true to empower you and allow you to unveil those blockades that we can put in front of us. So if you balance the science and the spiritual nature, you become a human being. Right? And it allows you to progress forward. Because if you came into the gym today, you'd have to have faith that we can get you to your end goal, right? And that was your first step in faith, right? However, there has to be a process to get you there, and that's just like everything else in life. And even to the colors even speak to my yin and my yang. I'm passionate, energetic, and hype, and fiery. However, I'm also very calm, cool, and collective in my way and my progressions and how I watch things and move through things. So,
Mhm. And I do. You very much live your career, what you preach, what you believe, your style of training, and balance pretty much probably does sum it up in a term in life. And in life, life is a balance. Life is long.
yeah,
That your goal should be for life to
right,
be
right,
long and healthy and well. And in order to, I think, get there, it takes balance.
right.
When we were having one of our many conversations of how we were going to direct the business and how we wanted to talk to you guys ultimately, get our message out there without it being so not watered down, but just we do say our 3 pillars are fitness, empowerment, and community, and we do believe that. But I mean, kind of what fitness brand doesn't
Right.
believe that if they're a good fitness brand? And one of the things that came out of your mouth, and it is a Giovanni quote, he doesn't believe it is, but it is. I'm like the best scribe in the world. He said, anything you train, you can grow, develop, and obtain. And not only because of the nice alliteration and rhythmic structure there did it stick with me, but because that really is what the brand stands for,
right.
and it is true. And it's not just when it comes to picking up a piece of iron.
Right.
It comes even in your daily habits, in your careers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just maybe talk about that step forward, and maybe even a specific example of a client? I know a lot of our clients do end up saying, it started here, whether it be weight loss, mobility,
Mm-hmm.
but now in my life, I'm able to do X.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I have a client that when she came to me originally,
Mm-hmm.
she could barely bend over to tie her sneakers, and she's a sculptor, and I mean she's able to walk in heels for an event and able to sculpt all day, and she's told me often how she really appreciates that experience. Now I will say that she's also tougher than iron herself, so
I would say I can't keep up with her.
Yeah, but there's that client, and then her tandem partner, who I remember the first day we had a breakthrough. It actually ended up, and this was a younger me, a little more raw, but I gave her a time period to do X amount of an exercise, and she didn't believe she could do it, and I screamed at her, "Yes, you can." "No, I can't." And it got to the point where she almost said, "I was like, just try." And she did it, and the level of belief that she had from that day on. I mean, that same girl trained literally to the day she had a baby.
Yeah.
Literally to the day she had the baby.
I think the day before she had the baby.
No, to the day she had the baby. Yeah. And it's so many clients that I've been fortunate to train and have gone through those experiences, to whether performing a task or just being able to perform their everyday activities in more regulation, with less pain, less discomfort, and then also with more output, more energy, so. And then even some of the people that you just work out with, right? Some of those people that just come in and just want to get a workout in, some of the people that you respect and that are like your brother, that are the people that, your peers, even those people, that give and take, that iron sharpens iron, when they get to work out with you and you get to work out with them, there's definitely been benefits from those experiences too.
So one of the things that we like to say, we don't really have a slogan, but it's kind of our slogan, is it's more than fitness, it's an ethic.
Right.
I think that truly sums up what we talked about today. I think we're going through a thunderstorm. I think that truly sums up who you are as a person.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
No. I think that I guess it's just weird to have the spotlight on me, but no, I do agree. I mean, that's what I try to embody and envision. I don't want to preach something that I wouldn't practice, and I wouldn't want to share with the world something that I didn't experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, anytime you open your mouth to talk, you're really only talking from your lessons and experiences.
Yeah.
So you're not learning anything new when you're talking. It's more so when you're listening. So when I talk to share, but when I listen to learn.
I love that. If people want to, in this time, train with you,
Mm-hmm.
are they still able to?
Zoom, and a zoom.
Do you have a website that they can find?
Yes, the fitnessethic.com.
Are they able to make purchases there?
They are. There's also Mind Body. Look for the Fitness Ethic. There's also Instagram,
Mhm.
the_fitness_ethic. We're on Facebook, the dinosaur of us all. But yeah, we're active on all those different outlets.
Okay. And if there's one fitness ethic-y piece of advice you could tell people, I'm going to ask several questions here.
Okay.
So the first one is, what would you tell your younger self as advice to get where you are today? Because I know while you don't, you're like, I'm so far from where I want to be.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that would kill to be in your shoes, though.
That's fair. I mean, there's going to be days where it's going to rain, and it's going to rain hard, and that thunder's going to come. It's going to be a storm.
Mm-hmm.
But just stick through it.
Okay.
And I think keep progressing forward one step at a time. Sojourner Truth used to say, or is famous for the quote. No, she's not famous for the quote. She's famous for a lot of different things. But one of her famous quotes is, "A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one single footstep, but you have to continue taking those footsteps forward."
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's so true. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask was, in this unforeseeable time, what is something somebody could do that's in Philly or halfway around the world to continue their, and I'm going to say not fitness, but wellness journey?
mhm.
Because we do. It's a entirety of things.
I think first we all need to take this opportunity to tune in with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and really, really, truly find out what it is that we need, what wellness is to us, and not what it is because of what we've experienced in our life, but where we need work at as an individual. And then, I mean, again, use the tools that we have at our platform, the technology. Everyone's on Zoom now. Instagram has workouts literally left and right.
Really does.
Yeah. And you can tell who's about it, and you can tell who's playing around with it. So, and use the tools, but first tune in with yourself. Check in with self, and ask yourself how you're doing and what it is that you need. Not what you want, but what you need during this time period to really embody who you are. Because the name is just a name. Who you are is an embodiment, and it gives definition to that name.
So true. It's also really hard to introspect, but
Yes.
you have a lot of time to do it. Get comfortable
Yes.
with it.
Journal. It's a good way to do it.
Well, I'm Mercedes. Hopefully I'll be seeing you guys a lot more on here. I'm done giving the interview right now. So Giovanni, if you want to sign us off.
Well, I mean, I think she did phenomenal, so she'll definitely be here. Plus, I'm definitely keeping her around. So. But I just want to thank anybody that was able to listen to this message. Hopefully it finds you well, as we always say. And hopefully it's beneficial and helpful to you and your journey. I'm doing this again, not to just hear myself talk. I'm doing this to spread the word and spread the lessons that I've experienced throughout my life and express my life experience so that you can know you're not the only one going through trials and tribulations, whether they're worse or whether they're, at a higher scale. We're all going through our battles, and especially at this time period. But I will say that you can make it to the other side with faith and a little bit of action, right? So, wishing you well, sending you peace and love. We'll see you again soon.